So as we sit here in early July, there's actually some good NFL free agents still available. Jadeveon Clowney, Logan Ryan, guys like that come to mind. But for me, I made a list of about 4 players that I think the Giants, I think will be a pretty good fit for the Giants based on their scheme and the players they have on the roster, where they're thin on the depth chart. And so I have a list of 4 players that I think would fit well here. Leave in the comments some names that you guys are thinking of. I know there's still many free agents out there. I'm sure there's a list of guys. So if you have any suggestions, and go ahead and put that in the comments, and hopefully you guys enjoy this video, and let's get into it. So the first name on this list is wide receiver Demaryius Thomas, and just, the Giants wide receiver core outside of Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard, and Golden Tate is not that deep, and Sterling Shepard definitely has his injury concerns. I know they brought Corey Coleman back. They have Cody Core, maybe someone else I'm forgetting at the moment, but yeah, that's pretty much it from what I know. So Demaryius Thomas, as we know, has had a very prestigious career. He almost has 10,000 yards for his career. He's had a bunch of 1,000 plus yard seasons in his career. He's won a playoff game on a walk-off 80-yard touchdown back when Tim Tebow was the quarterback for Denver. So he's been around for a while. Negative about him, he will be 32 next year. He had an Achilles tear in 2018, so he's had that. But he played for the Jets last year, and although he lacked his explosiveness and separation that he used to have, he still wasn't that bad. He was a good possession receiver, 36 receptions, over 400 yards, and a touchdown. Had a long of 47, which I think was against the Giants actually when they had a blown coverage against him. But yeah, I'm actually a fan of Thomas. I mean, he's a high character guy. I've never heard anything bad about him before, and he played locally for the Jets last year. As I have listed down here, he's kind of similar to Darius Slayton in the way they play. Demaryius Thomas had a lot of deep balls and long plays in the beginning of his career, and I think it's similar to Darius Slayton. So I do think if he was even there for just the preseason, I think Demaryius Thomas can at least teach Darius Slayton some things about being in the NFL that not many guys can teach. I mean, Golden Tate's been around for a while, but those are different style of players, obviously. Golden Tate, Darius Slayton are not really the same type of player. He's closer to a guy like Demaryius Thomas, and Demaryius Thomas last year was in the preseason with the Patriots, so he has some experience with Joe Judge, who, as we know, was promoted to wide receiver coach last year, so he probably has some personal connection with Demaryius Thomas. I know it wasn't for that long, but still, they at least know each other. So I think this one's possible. It would not cost him that much, obviously. The negatives are he's going to be 32 next year, he lost his explosiveness by now, and he had a torn Achilles just 2 years ago. So those are the concerns for me, but there's a lot of positives as well. The Giants don't have a big-body receiver. Their tallest receiver is 6'1", who I think is Slayton. So I think, bringing in a guy who's 6'3", 235 can definitely benefit you. He's good on those back shoulder balls still. As I said, a good possession receiver, reliable hands. So, look, I think they could do worse than Demaryius Thomas. I mean, some people talk about Josh Gordon, Antonio Brown, and I have a question about that for a future video, so I won't get into it now. But I just think the safer option would go with a veteran receiver like a Demaryius Thomas. My next one's another wide receiver. It's Taylor Gabriel, formerly with the Bears and the Falcons and the Browns, I believe, before that. So this guy's very fast. The Giants don't really have a downfield threat outside of Slayton, who I said is 6'1". They don't really have a smaller downfield threat type of guy. And Taylor Gabriel's more than the speed threat in my mind. He's a really good route runner. And this is a guy that was, in 2018's preseason, I believe, timed at 24 miles per hour, which is insane. I don't know if that's true, but if it is, it tells you how fast the guy is. So I think he's a really good route runner. I remember that route he had against Malcolm Butler in the Super Bowl in 2016. That was amazing and broke his ankles. He can play outside receiver for sure. He's played slot as well. Matt Nagy runs a bunch of bunch sets as receivers in Chicago, but he can play outside as well. Has a lot of playoff experience, just like Demaryius Thomas does. He's played in 6 games and has a Super Bowl appearance as well. And I think he's a great fourth receiver or a deep threat for a team. He won't be in there all the time, obviously, unless someone got hurt. But as a fourth option and a guy that can just take the top off of defense, and then Gabriel's a great option, and he knows how to get open. I mean, I think for me, the most important thing for a receiver is getting open. Of course, some guys have better hands than others, and some guys are more explosive than others, but if you can just get open and run crisp routes, then I think, Taylor Gabriel's your guy for the people remaining here. So, the negatives, he missed 7 games in 2019, he had 2 concussions. He played his last game against the Giants last year when they lost in Chicago, which was like week 12, I think it was. So he did miss some games last year. He missed one early on, then he missed the whole, last 6 games of the year basically. So that's a concern, especially because the Giants already have a receiver that's dealing with concussion issues. He only stands at 5'8", 170 pounds, which is like close to my size, honestly. So that can't be that good. But obviously, we're different athletes. The Giants, don't have that big body receiver, as I said before, so he doesn't really fill that void. But I did say the most important thing to me for a receiver is getting open. I don't care if you're 5'8" or 6'5". If you can get open and catch the ball and make big plays happen, then you can play for my team any day. So Taylor Gabriel will be a nice fit in my mind. He's an undrafted guy. He's been around. He's been in the Super Bowl before. So I just think he adds a deep threat to this team that they don't really have necessarily. If he ran 24 miles per hour just 2 years ago, then that's incredible. So I would say go ahead and add him. Don't know how much it would cost. I believe he's 29 years old now, so we'll see. But I do think this would be a nice fit as well. Next, we have an inside linebacker formerly with the Eagles, so I'm sure some of you know him, Nigel Bradham. So he's played in the division from 2016 to 2019. He's had some solid years. He's had over 100 tackles one year. He's had over 80 in 2 years, and then, of course, got hurt last year for a little bit, so he only had 61 tackles. But the guy's actually pretty good in coverage for an inside linebacker, and that's what appeals to me. So the Giants don't really have that. I mean, you can say Ryan Conley has potential. I went over that in my film breakdown of him. I think he has potential for sure. Blake Martinez in Green Bay wasn't necessarily known for that. And the Giants are pretty thin at this inside linebacker position. I know they drafted some guys. They drafted Cam Brown, Tate Crowder, guys like that. There might be somebody else I'm forgetting. But there's that, and then you have Ryan Conley coming back from the ACL tear. You don't know how that's going to be. And then outside of Blake Martinez, who does, thank God, play every game. Hopefully he stays healthy. They don't really have a sure thing at inside linebacker. So if Nigel Bradham would come here on a cheap contract, a 1-year deal, I say why not? I mean, the guy can cover. He's not amazing against the run, but he gets the job done. And, the negatives for him would be he missed 4 games last year with an ankle sprain. I think it was an ankle sprain. He'll be 31 next year. He's an average run defender, and he doesn't really help the youth movement of this team because, they want to play guys like Conley, Crowder, Cam Brown, people like that. So, of course, Blake Martinez is going to have his spot, and I think the other linebacker number 2 spot is Ryan Conley's job to lose. I mean, if he's not healthy, then obviously he can't help it. But if Conley were to miss time for some reason, then I would say bring in Nigel Bradham for sure. And even if he's there, I would still bring this guy in. I mean, if Nigel Bradham is playing at a high level, then why not? I mean, this is a guy that athletically compares to guys like Patrick Willis and Derrick Henry. That was like on some type of, I don't know what the website was, like Athletic Profiler or something like that. But the guy is crazy athletic. He's not Patrick Willis exactly. He's not Derrick Henry exactly, but he is pretty damn athletic. So for an inside linebacker, I think you can do a lot worse. He had a nice career at Buffalo before this as well, so he's been around for a while. He is 31, but at the same time, he's pretty quick for a linebacker, good in coverage, and I say why not? It's a good depth piece to have. And lastly, we have Tony Jefferson, who did play safety for basically all of his career, but I do think can make a transition to linebacker if he's not as quick as he used to be. So this was a guy that I talked about back on Fireside. It was like one of the first videos I did because I think Tony Jefferson was one of the first guys released in the offseason. So he had a contract that was pretty big because he came over from the Cardinals. He was a really good, strong safety on the Cardinals. He kind of got hurt on the Ravens. It wasn't really as good, so obviously they cut him because he wasn't really performing up to that contract. And last year he tore his ACL in 2019 against the Steelers, so that was tough to see, but the guy is, still a good player in my mind. He just needs to stay healthy. I cannot tell you for sure if he'll be healthy or not, but the guy is really versatile. He's 5'11", he's 212 pounds. Not that big for a linebacker, but there's some smaller linebackers nowadays, so that's definitely possible. He was a great player for the Cardinals not too long ago, back in like 2014, 2015, 2016. Guy was a really good player, and he's only 28 years old, so he's not the oldest guy out there. I know he's coming off a pretty bad knee injury, but still, if he can somehow find it at 28, 29 years old, it'd be a great pickup, and the guy can play everywhere. I think he can play any safety position. He can play inside linebacker, in my opinion, so the versatility is definitely appealing to me. He has playoff experience. The Giants are thin at linebacker, inside linebacker, and safety. I mean, Jabril Peppers was hurt last year. Ryan Conley was hurt last year. Guy's only 28. And the negatives for him, though, as I said, coming off the ACL injury, he will miss some tackles here and there, but he is a big hitter, so I like that about him. And he's had 13 games missed since 2018. 11 of them were last season. So there are some negatives there, of course, but for the most part, if you want an athletic, linebacker / safety who's versatile, I think Tony Jefferson's a good guy to take a shot on. He's probably going to get like a 1-year deal, would not cost too much. He's going to be like a prove-it type deal, so I say why not? If the Giants are looking for a versatile piece, then it works for me. So I think this would be a good pick. The guy had a really good career at one point. He just needs to stay healthy, and he would be a really good pickup for the Giants. So that will do it. Demaryius Thomas, Taylor Gabriel, Nigel Bradham, Tony Jefferson. If I had to pick one of these guys, because obviously they're not going to sign all four, if I had to pick one of them, oh, that's tough. I'm going to probably say Demaryius. I think Demaryius Thomas would fit really well here with the whole culture thing and just helping Darius Slayton improve in his career. Obviously, guys like Bradham and Jefferson are interesting, and I love Taylor Gabriel's ability to get open and stuff like that. But I just think for the fit for this team, Demaryius Thomas would not take up too much playing time, and he would definitely help the younger guys on this team. So for me, that would be the pickup. So let me know what you guys think in the comments if you like these guys and some other names I left off the list as well. I know it's only 4 people, and there's many free agents out there still, so I probably missed some. But let me know. So I'll talk to you guys next time. Hopefully you enjoyed, and thank you for watching.